Spoiler alert. The following will contain spoilers for Marvel's What If series. Please be advised. What's up, everybody? It's me, E-Man, from E-Man's Movie Reviews. Guys, we finally got our very first episode of What If. It kicks off with Captain Carter. Woo! Oh my goodness, she is something else. I had a really good time with this episode. But I gotta say, one of the many questions that I think a lot of us had and will have with this entire series is whether or not it connects or how it connects to the MCU. Now, the episodes are set up to be like an anthology where maybe they kind of stand on their own. But then again, it's Marvel. We've had over 10 years of them connecting the dots with everything. So maybe they do stand alone and later connect, or maybe they don't at all. We don't know. But you know what? I think because of Marvel's history, the best thing we can do is maybe just work under the assumption that it might connect sometime down the road. Now, when I sat in on the virtual press conference for What If, one of the executive producers did mention that, well, let's just say he hinted this will more than likely connect and impact the MCU. Possibly. So for the sake of these breakdowns, I'm going to treat them as if they might connect some way, somehow in this vast multiverse. So let's hurry up and just break this down. We start off the episode similar to Captain America: The First Avenger. Rather than going up in the booth, Peggy Carter makes the one choice not to go up there, and that changes everything. This time she had a clear view of the undercover Hydra agent that was going to sabotage and steal the super soldier formula. She tried to stop him from triggering his bomb, but it still went off, and he ended up shooting some people, including Steve Rogers. With the experiment now in jeopardy, Agent Carter hops in and takes Steve's place. When it's all finished, she comes out a bit bulkier and stronger. Peggy is now having her blood extracted in hopes that the military will be able to reproduce the super soldier serum. Colonel Flynn considers the project a failure just because the serum went into a woman and not into a man. Okay, let's talk about some key differences here. The Watcher lets us know pretty early on that Peggy's decision to stay in the room was the actual turning point. So if the TVA were still operating, maybe this would have been her Nexus event, all because she made that one choice. Another difference here is that she actually shoots and kills the Hydra agent. Now, in case you missed it, Colonel Chester Phillips, who was played by Tommy Lee Jones, he gets shot and dies here. This is why we see Colonel Flynn taking over instead. Keep in mind that Colonel Flynn's discrimination is happening because it wasn't until 3 years after World War II that women were finally allowed to serve as full members of the military. And this is kind of like a shame too, because Colonel Phillips, he at least really respected Peggy Carter. You know, if you go back and watch the movie, I mean, she was sitting here punching people and everything, and he just was like, get up. Walk it off, son. So his loss is kind of felt here, because if he had not died, then Peggy's road to becoming, Captain Carter probably would have been a lot smoother. At the base, Stark, Carter, and Flynn are going over some intel that suggests that the Nazis and Hydra are in Norway. Turns out that Hydra has discovered the location of the Tesseract. Howard Stark is concerned that the gamma signatures from the clock tower could be used as a potential weapon if Hydra obtains it. Colonel Flynn is reluctant in sending a team to intercept the terrorist group. Stark gifts Peggy with a new costume and shield so that she can proceed on with stopping Hydra. Okay, so there is one specific scene that we have to talk about here. Earlier, this episode gave us the impression that everything we've previously seen was consistent within the MCU history that we've all known. It seemed like the only real divergence from the MCU history was when Peggy made that big decision. However, I believe that this scene right here proves that even the history in this alternate reality is different too. Take a look at the World Tree. We've seen the World Tree in Captain America: The First Avenger. And for those of you who don't know, let me give you just a quick bit of background about this World Tree. Now, it's not a literal tree, but it is more so an idea as Guardians used to describe the cosmic nimbus or celestial bodies. In Thor, he explains to Jane Foster by sketching out the World Tree for her. Basically, all these realms are connected by the branches of the world tree. A close similarity may be to liken this similar to how we think about stars and constellations. So just think of the world tree as a much larger version of the Big Dipper, except instead of stars being connected, it's various celestial bodies. Okay, now that we have that covered, this scene really does stand out, mainly because I couldn't find this shot in the Captain America movie, meaning that this world tree is different, and so is whatever history that came along with it. As for this part of the world tree, if it is true that the tree connects different realms, then this could be a representation of another place that we haven't seen in the MCU. Now, I'll go further into this once we get to the end of the video, but this is definitely interesting that they decided to add this in. Peggy ambushes a Hydra group that was transporting the Tesseract. After making quick work of them, she delivers the Tesseract back to Colonel Flynn. Stark is working on a new project for Steve Rogers. Bucky and his unit has been captured, and Captain Carter rushes in to break them out. During the battle, Rogers flies in the Hydra Stomper armored suit to finish off the enemy troops. Jeez Louise, man, I did not know Peggy was so ruthless. Oh my goodness. And Peggy was a straight gangster out there. I ain't never seen Steve be that brutal. Did you see what she did to that man's knee? Oh man, my knee hurt just watching that. But I like what I'm seeing. And of course, we got to talk about this other scene. And I know I've brought this up before, but I got to talk about it again. It just seems odd that Peggy was able to just pick up the Tesseract without it burning her or affecting her. In the Captain America movie, we've seen it burn a hole through airplanes, teleport people to distant planets, and in the Avengers movie, it burned Nick Fury's hand after he just touched it for a moment. Now, funny thing, I actually had a chance to talk to the director and the writer of What If, and I got a chance to ask them about this very scene. Here's what they had to say. In the first episode, we see a certain character pick up a certain cosmic object. Previously in the MCU, if anyone touched this thing, they'd get burned or worse. Can you explain why that character isn't affected when they do pick it up?
Well, if you're referring to the Tesseract, I believe that if you have a gloved hand, one can pick up the Tesseract. Since the Infinity Stone is inside, if you touch an Infinity Stone pure and dry, you'll get toasted unless you're, someone extremely badass. And I think in our episode 1, I think it's the only people that contact that are A, they're gloved, which is helpful, and B, it's still the Tesseract. So therefore there is a certain level of protection there too. So I believe that's accurate. At least that's what the Marvel peeps told me. So
there were discussions about this.
There were plenty of discussions. So yeah.
Because in the first Avengers movie, Sam Jackson, Nick Fury, he had a glove and he still got burned. So
maybe his gloves were way too thin.
That could be it. That could be it. I'm fine with that. I'm fine with that.
It'll come down to the brand,
No, of course. Oh, it's the gloves. Okay. All right. Hey, you know what? Peggy Carter apparently has better gloves than Nick Fury 70 years in the future. Okay. Got it. Look, I don't know. I feel like Marvel was just kind of like further pushing that idea that for whatever reason, the Infinity Stones are just not that big of a deal anymore. But I don't know. Maybe being a super soldier is enough and you could just pick up Infinity Stones with no consequences. Now, I will say it is pretty cool to see Howard Stark leverage the power of the Tesseract to help power the Hydra Stomper suit for Steve Rogers. Now, in the movie, we saw Hydra weaponize the Tesseract's power in many of the guns that they were using, but this time it's flipped around to the side of the Allies. This time, Steve is using the Tesseract in the suit, similar to how Tony Stark was using his arc reactor in the Iron Man movies. Speaking of which, it seems apparent that this is a very reminiscent prototype to Iron Man's very first suit that he built when he was kidnapped. Maybe this was in Howard Stark's notes. It could be that Tony saw this prototype a long time ago. However, in this universe, because Stark wasn't busy focusing on Captain America and Hydra in the same way, he had time to develop this suit instead. Meanwhile, Captain Carter and Rogers continue to battle Hydra. Peggy decided to personally deliver them some frequent flyer miles right to the face. On the other side of enemy lines, Red Skull stages a coup to have Hydra supersede Hitler and his regime. Captain Carter and the 107th have received intel that the Red Skull is on board a train. It turns out to be a trap, and Steve is caught in a blast and is lost. Okay, first of all, I have to say, Peggy is a straight savage. Did you see what she did to them dudes out in the air? Come on, Steve Rogers. Man, what? I ain't never seen you do nothing like that. All we got to see was Captain America doing all these little twisty, twirl, flip, gymnastic things in the air at Age of Ultron. That's it. But you got Peggy out here just bing, bong, flip-flopping and all this and flinging people out the planes. Come on with it. Let's go. She making Captain America look bad out here. As for Hydra, we see Red Skull pull a power move. He mentioned that he wanted to bring about his champion. We see that shot again of the World Tree, and it seems like this champion could be the inspiration of the Hydra beliefs. Keep in mind that Red Skull does believe in the myths and legends as being real, so whatever this octopus-looking creature is, he views that as being their champion. Now, going back to that train scene, we see Bucky almost fall, but this time he's caught by Peggy Carter. As you recall, this would have been the scene where Bucky falls and is captured by Hydra to later become the Winter Soldier. Notice, however, it's Steve who ends up getting blown away and falling instead. What's intriguing about this is that it would seem like Marvel is playing with the concept of time or destiny being predetermined. Sure, there may be some variations in these alternate realities, but some things apparently still must happen. I mean, it's looking like there still has to be a Captain America version or someone with the super soldier serum. There still must also be someone who falls off of that train and gets captured, and so on and so forth. So even if we do see some slight variations here and there, certain things still apparently have to happen, even if it happens to other people instead. While mourning the loss of Steve Rogers, Captain Carter interrogates Zola for information. Thanks to his helpful snitching, he told her that Red Skull plans on unleashing a force from another dimension to conquer the world. The squad infiltrates Red Skull's castle. With the Tesseract back in his possession, Red Skull harnesses its power to open a portal to another dimension. This brings forth a giant creature who Red Skull believed to be the champion of Hydra. The creature, however, had other plans and crushed him instead. Meanwhile, Bucky and the others rescued Steve. He powers up the Hydra Stomper and flies in to give Peggy a hand. The creature gives a deafening yell, which is about to bring the entire castle down. Peggy makes a sacrificial play by forcefully pushing the creature back through the portal. She promises Steve a dance lesson that she'll eventually ghost him for, and the interdimensional door closes behind her. We then see the Tesseract activate and teleport her to meet Nick Fury and Hawkeye. She discovers that she's been brought 70 years into the future and the war has already been won. Wow, now that was a very cool way to end off the episode. That was just such a great little battle and everything, but I gotta say, what was that creature at the very end? One possibility is that this could be the creature known as Hive. For those of you who are fans of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., you know that Hive was originally an Inhuman that was experimented on by the Kree, the same aliens that Captain Marvel had beef with. Hive was banished to a planet for hundreds of thousands of years. Before he got banished, he had a cult following, and that cult eventually evolved into what we know today as to being Hydra. Maybe since Hive was on this distant planet, that's where the Tesseract reached out to. Maybe this was just Marvel's way of retconning or incorporating the backstory for Hydra, seeing as though currently Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. isn't considered to be canon for the MCU. Now, another possibility here is that that creature at the end could be the introduction of the ancient elder god, Chthon. Chthon is billions of years old, and in the comics, he's the brother of other elder gods, including Mother Nature herself, Gaia. Without doing a deep dive, the basic things you need to know about him, at least regarding the MCU, is that he's in another dimension and he's also known as the god of chaos. Remember chaos magic? it's the same magic that Wanda, aka the Scarlet Witch, that she taps into when she uses her powers. So maybe this is a tease from Marvel of a potential villain for Doctor Strange's sequel in the Multiverse of Madness. I mean, you could kind of think of Chthon as being like a villain that's on Dormammu's level. Of course, that creature could also be Shuma-Gorath. This could be the more likely choice. It certainly looks like the creature in the episode, and Shuma-Gorath is a common Doctor Strange villain too. Then again, Marvel has other tentacle creatures too. It could be the Great Cthulhu. Or maybe it's an obelisk, which we saw the Guardians of the Galaxy fighting in Volume 2. Anyway, what do you think the creature was, or who do you think it was? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Now, one last thing, I think we have to talk about how exactly did Peggy get to the future, even though they used the Tesseract. Judging by the chopped up tentacles, she either defeated the creature or was still in the process of fighting it. The Tesseract must have been activated by S.H.I.E.L.D. 70 years later in the future, and that opened up another door for her to return. However, my guess is that similar to the quantum realm, time must pass differently in that dimension where she was with the creature. That would explain why she's barely aged and why she was still under the impression that time had barely passed, especially when she asked for Steve Rogers. I'm sure we're going to get more Captain Carter in some way, shape, or form in the future, whether it's more What If episodes or maybe it's in live action in some way, shape, or form. Either way, I'm here for it. Matter of fact, I wouldn't mind seeing her reunite with old man Steve. That'd be kind of interesting too. Anyway, that's all we got for the Captain Carter. That's the first episode of the What If series. What did you think about it? What were some of your favorite parts? To my knowledge, I believe we're going to get only 9 episodes, even though it was supposed to be 10. From what I was reading online, I want to say that like one of the episodes, they couldn't finish it on time or something happened. So they're going to push that to season 2 of What If. And yes, we are getting a season 2. But oh my goodness, I cannot tell you guys how excited I am. Right after this Captain Carter episode, episode 2 is Star-Lord T'Challa, and I'm trying to tell you, magic. This is, as you know, this is going to be one of Chadwick Boseman's final performances, so you already know that this is going to be something special. Please be sure to tune in every Wednesday night. That's 5 Pacific time. That's 8 p.m. Eastern time. We are going to do a live reaction chat where we just talk about the episode from that day, and it is going to be a blast. I cannot tell. Look, if you've been to any one of my lives, you already know we have a fun time and you do not want to miss it. Now, I want to thank you all so much for taking the time to watch my video because I really do appreciate it. If you like what you see, like this video, subscribe. Don't forget to hit that bell so that you don't miss out on the next time I make a video. And if you're new here, please feel free to go check out some of my other breakdown videos or maybe some of my other theories as well. In the meantime, I've got more videos and reviews to do for you all. And until next time, I'll see you all later.